I often have the most random thoughts possible while I'm in the shower. Philosophical questions such as, what is Joe Biden's favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip.
Who is the better romance option in The Witcher 3, Triss or Yennefer? And the question behind this video, how many bosses do you really need to defeat to beat Elden Ring? From my expert calculations, I surmised that you must defeat 11 or 12 bosses, depending on how you count the final boss. But I also wonder what possible complications could arise from the fact that I can only defeat a certain number of bosses. I have given it great thought, and I see a few potential complications, like the scarcity of runes as I cannot defeat any more bosses than required. All skill point decisions being final because I can't fight Rennala to respec my skill points. Or the biggest one is that certain items that I would normally grab are now off limits. The first problem though is the route that must be taken to beat the game with the fewest number of bosses defeated, and that gets a bit complicated. Putting a pin in that for now, let's talk prep. While there are a lot of items that I am locked out of, there are some still I need to grab. One was the Dectus Medallion, so I guess two things, which is a requirement because fighting my way through the rune-strewn precipice isn't an option because fighting the boss is a big no-no. I also grabbed a few talismans like the Axe Talisman and Radagon's Sword Seal, but I quickly came to the grim realization that I won't be getting another talisman slot until I defeat 2 Shard Bearers. That's because you get your second slot from beating Margit, but he didn't seem to have scheduled an appointment with me, so I guess we're in this for the long haul. There is another option though, and that's the Wondrous Physic Flask, but that also has some problems as most of the tiers require you to defeat a boss like an Erdtree Avatar, but that won't keep me from using the Strength Knot or the Spike Crack tier, which both remained in my setup for most of the game. Finally, I got every golden seed and sacred tier I could get without harming the local wildlife or hurting my vulnerable body. Now back to the warpath. Defeating the Shard Bearers comes first, and for our first boss we have 2 choices, Starscourge Radahn or Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy. Those are our only 2 options, as fighting Rennala or Godric would require you to defeat an additional boss. I chose Rykard for a few reasons, such as Rykard being worth more runes than Radahn, my plan to utilize the Serpent Hunter Spear as my main weapon, which possibly ended up being a major mistake, and because I wanted to flex my Godskin skip skills. To make getting to Volcano Manor easier, I started a quest to help this poor helpless woman Raya on the side of the road. She is a servant to Lady Tanith of Volcano Manor, and wants me to help her get back her necklace after it was taken by this gentleman right here. So after speaking with this humble seafood salesman, I decided to buy the necklace off of him. After doing that, I subsequently received an invite to Volcano Manor from Raya. Before I head off to Volcano Manor, I need to address my absolutely impoverished state of affairs. I need runes, and while I could kill enemies, I really wanted to avoid farming enemies as much as possible. So I decided to go out and venture across the land in search of every golden rune I could think of. After adding all those golden runes to my hoard, I made my way to the Grand Lift of Dectus to enter the Altus Plateau. As soon as I got to the Altus Plateau, I ran into a familiar face from 4 sentences ago, Raya, and she offered to take me to Volcano Manor, so of course I accepted. After arriving at Volcano Manor, we can meet Tanith, the lady of the manor and consort of Praetor Rykard. She will offer us a place at the manor, and if we accept, we will become a recusant and receive the drawing room key. We can use the drawing room key to open up many doors around the manor, including this first room on the right where there's an illusionary wall that will allow us access into the passages behind the walls and lead us deeper into the manor. Once outside, I got to see the full extent of the manor. It sits as a smoldering husk of a manor, forever ablaze as a monument to the depravity of man and the agony so easily inflicted. Then it's just the usual as I make my way through the prison town into the guest hall courtyard, where I'm able to grab a somber 6 before using the lift up here to grab this somber 5. Now do you know what time it is? It's Godskin skip time. So while I do this skip, I just want to ask you to like the video if you're enjoying it so far, and subscribe for more pain. Now that I'm up here, we can just go and activate the elevator just in case we die.
What the dog doing?
And then make a mad dash to the waygate before I end up dead. Now, getting the Serpent Hunter's Spear is as easy as taking candy from a diabetic man who's already died from congenital heart failure. Now with our weapon in hand, we just need to upgrade it. So let's run back that skip so we can go and grab the Somber 7. All that's left now is to head into Caelid, and then I can grab the Somber Smithing Stone 8 and the Somber Smithing Stone 9, which are easy to grab. With all my Somber Smithing Stones collected, I headed back and met with Blacksmith Hugh. I upgraded my Serpent Hunter Spear to +9 using all of my golden runes. Now I can challenge the Lord of Volcano Manor, and it did not go well. Eventually I got pretty consistent at the first phase, but I quickly realized that I just wasn't doing enough damage because he has a lot of health in the second phase. I knew this was a possibility, so I tucked my tail between my legs and went back to the drawing board. I went and grabbed the noble set of armor and changed up my physic flask, but still no dice. Then I had an epiphany. I don't have to fight a shardbearer first, I could just go and kill the draconic tree sentinel. So that's what I did. I went over to that unsuspecting fuck and killed his ass on the first try. So after I leveled up my strength, Rykard didn't even stand a chance. And by the way, these jump attacks are crazy. They're doing like 5,000 damage per hit. That's just insane. That's one great rune down, and now I have a meeting with Elden Ring's resident child snatcher. I got the ball rolling by talking to Vare at the first step, because now that I have a great rune, he's willing to talk to me. He tells me to converse with the two fingers, and what the hell is that knuckle hair? When I find Vare again, I'm immediately interested in what he has to say, because there is something vaguely suspicious about those two fingers, other than the knuckle hair. After I'm done speaking to Vare, he gives me the finger, 5 of them actually, and he tells me I can use them to invade people. So I went and turned Magnus Beastclaw into a plural before returning to Vare. He gives me the Lord of Blood's favor, which I need to soak in the blood of a maiden, so it's a good thing I've already been to the Church of Inhibition. After I soak the cloth, I return to Vare, and then this dickhead does something with my finger, and I have no clue. He's just some sort of freak. But that's enough about him. Now I can use the Pureblood Knight's medal and use it to transport me to the Mohg Palace audience ground. Now that I'm here, all I have to do is make my way to the top of the Dynasty Mausoleum. Before I fought Mohg, I decided that it would be a good idea to grab the somber ancient dragon smithing stone found here, and then return to Blacksmith Hugh to create a weapon capable of slaying a god. Returning to the Dynasty Mausoleum, I decided to give Mohg a try and see how my damage is. And it's pretty good, but the problem is, well, you know what the problem is. His Blood Boon ritual, which he performs to transition phases, and it throws all kind of monkey wrenches into the works of my fight strategy. So now it's time to backtrack, because I need to do Bloody Finger Hunter Yura's quest so then I can get the Purifying Crystal Tear from Eleonora. It is important, but not really to survive his Blood Boon ritual, as I can easily heal through that, but to be able to keep attacking him while he does it. While you do decrease damage to him, it helps to keep his health in the second phase as low as possible, and it seems though you might still be damaging his poise, because when I would do this, he would typically get staggered from my next charged heavy attack, but that might not be true. Some other things that I did before my final attempt was grab the Spiral Horn Shield and the Golden Vow Ash of War, just to be pedantic, but all it really took was time. So at level 65 and after around 4 hours, the stars aligned and I was able to vanquish Mohg and get my second Great Rune. Side note, I found it really funny that I can't use any of the Great Runes that I'll get in this run, because to activate Mohg's, which I just got, and Morgott, which I will get, you have to fight the stupid ass Fell Twins. And to activate Rykard's Great Rune, I'd have to fight the Onyx Lord at the end of the sealed tunnel, so I can't use any of them. After the trials I faced in Mohg, I had an ego so inflated that you might have mistaken me for a blimp, but you might be expecting me to say that I was humbled pretty quickly, but that was not the case. I made pretty good progress, but little did I know that the seeds of my downfall were sown long ago, and as they say, pride cometh before the fall. Everything was going well as I made my way through Leyndell, and I got everything I felt was necessary before I got to the East Rampart. Here though, I might have broken the rules and lost the challenge. For reasons unknown to me or my handlers, I killed this gargoyle. Maybe it was for fun, or maybe it was for revenge, but I don't really know. But you can let me know if you think I failed. I didn't think too much of it at the time because no boss health bar shows up, but I don't know, just let me know by leaving a dislike if you think that I failed. Well, regardless, I continue forward because, as they say, the challenge is the friends we met along the way. Goldfrey the Piss Lord is next, and this fight always tends to be easy as his attacks are well telegraphed and even a short bus individual like myself can dodge them. With him having less HP than the notoriously squishy Radahn, it doesn't take much to set off Grandpa's life alert and put him in his place. With that, I now have 3 of my talisman slots and I'm off the challenge for the Elden Throne. When I enter the arena, I am absolutely shocked to see that the King of Leyndell is this man who I've never met before, but I do have to give him credit on his toe game. What I don't have to give him credit for is his resilience, because he went down like a little bitch. Honestly, it was kinda sad. One might believe that this is the end of the game, but there are thorns blocking the way, so I guess there's still more to do. Melina calls me like a clingy ex and then tells me I need to commit arson and burn her mom's house down. I really don't know what she's talking about, but she mentioned mountains, and I really could go for a mountain retreat about now. With Morgott defeated, we are now able to enter the Forbidden Lands just outside of Leyndell. This area of the game is void of all things interesting, and most people pass through here and never return. After taking the Grand Lift of Rold, I traverse the mountaintops of the Giant, and nothing really of note happens until... I in fact did not know that these abominations existed. I vaguely remember seeing one of these on my first playthrough, but I thought it was some sort of hallucination or trick of the mind making it look bigger. But now I'm forced to cope with the fact that colossal finger creepers exist. God help us all. Now for Fire Giant, and I want to tell you a tale of when I first played this game. I was so proud of myself after beating Morgott for the first time that I thought I'd crossed over the proverbial hump of difficulty, but I was wrong, oh so wrong. Fire Giant was a giant 40,000 HP wall that stopped me dead in my tracks. I stopped playing Elden Ring for nearly 2 weeks until I felt a calling. I could not be defeated by a mere game. I had to rise above and look down on what I had done and be proud of what I accomplished. And that's what I did. Why am I telling you this? One could say that it was an inspirational story about self-determination and not leaving a job unfinished. Or it could be because I beat Fire Giant on my first try and I was disappointed that it wasn't more challenging. I will allow you to be the judge. Was it an inspirational story, or was I stalling for time because I thought this would take longer? Now, I sit at the kiln of the first flame. Oops, wrong game. The Forge of the Giants. Melina greeted me, and then she started to get all sorts of Heaven's Gatey, so I just skipped the cutscene. And then I woke up in what seemed like fucking Detroit, and I have no clue how I got here and what that bitch put in my apple juice. But enough about her, because this is where the real game begins. What is left of this game represents a gauntlet of trials and tribulations that would lead me down a dreary path. It began, as it often does, with the Godskin Duo, and this was not looking good for me as I failed over and over again, but I eventually was able to get a strategy to work, but the cracks in my build were showing. In the end, all it took was time, and I was fine with that because this was the boss I was expecting to give me the most trouble. My final run at the Foreskin Duo was just about perfect, as I was able to kill one and then the other before they could be resummoned, so most of the fight was one-on-one. Now all I had to do was beat Maliketh. And he's one of the squishiest bosses in the game, relatively speaking, so this would be easy, right? I was wrong. This was bad. I can't even describe how utterly deflated I was after 2 hours of not even being able to get to the second phase. I nearly broke my controller and I have a new dent in my wall from where I threw my wireless mouse. I needed to revamp my entire setup because the Serpent Hunter Spear is just way too slow. And the fact that I had been using Radagon's Sword Seal as a crutch wasn't helping the matter. Maliketh was killing me so fast, it was like in 3 to 4 hits, which you could do in quick succession, and I was just dead. My strategy throughout this playthrough was a bit dodgy. When it came down to it, I would dodge and then plant my feet and charge a heavy attack while fully committing to it. I even used the Bull Goat Talisman for some time, but I never mentioned that because it wasn't that relevant. The strat worked against more aggressive enemies because even if I got hit, I'd still land my hit and result in a trade. But Maliketh, he would constantly do some backflip, somersault bullshit and get out of the way. Not to mention the pitiful range on this charged heavy, and I mean, even if he's just a bee's dick length too far away, it was like he was sentient, like he knew just how to get out of the way of my attacks. I kept trying and changing my setup, but I just wasn't getting any farther. And after 2 more hours, I just caved. And while I wanted to stay committed to the Serpent Hunter Spear, I just said fuck it. I grabbed a weapon that I was more intimately familiar with, the Greatsword, and I got it the plus 25 with Crag Blade and the Heavy Infusion. I also just decided to say fuck it and wore the Turtle Shield and the Drake Armor which I grabbed. And yeah, I was fat rolling now, but that's easily fixed with the Wing Crystal tier. And now with a weapon I'm much more comfortable with, it was only a matter of time until I beat Maliketh. From my first attempt at Maliketh, and after having stolen Destined Death, we can return to Leyndell as is now become the Ashen Capital. And before we can get to the real endgame, we have to deal with Mr. Reversed Home Mortgage. He wasn't that much of a problem, but unfortunately because of the bosses I defeated, he had some rather annoying attacks, and good lord, Comet is just insane. Now though, it's time to face the first Elden Lord. To start, he seemed mildly angry about the fact that I had killed his son, and I was sure that he would be slightly more angry if I killed his other son as well, but who really cares, because as he says, a crown is warranted with strength. So at first, I tried using the Serpent Hunter Spear again, but after getting power fucked in the second phase, for the same reasons as against Maliketh, I gave into depression and committed to using the Greatsword. With the Greatsword in hand, we clashed, and even as he fought hard, I came out the victor. I was now coming into the final boss fight at level 108, which is underleveled, but not by much, so I guess my rune gains were not as affected as I thought they'd be. Having accepted that the Serpent Hunter Spear was a mistake on my part, I rolled with the Greatsword. And I can say, while Radagon has a nauseating amount of poise, this is still a really fun boss fight, and I kind of enjoyed sparring with Radagon again. Elden Beast though was just as annoying as ever, with his constant running away and his dumb attacks like Elden Stars and that stupid one with the ring. But it couldn't stop me from claiming victory, and proving something that didn't really need to be proven. In truth, this video was a trial run for something more that I hope I can get out soon, but I also have a Dark Souls 2 video that should come out soon. We now are at the end of the video, and I mean, if you're hearing this, then I thank you a lot. I hope that you might have found this video entertaining, and while I honestly know that I'm not the most skilled Elden Ring player ever, I just like to joke around and share what I thought was a cool thought experiment. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd appreciate it if you left a like, and if you wanted to see more content, then I'd be grateful if you subscribed. But other than that, I'd like to thank you for watching and wish you a great rest of your day.